Welcome to the election process for the 2021-2022 APHA-ASP National Executive Committee. Candidates will be allowed 4 minutes and 4 minutes only to address the audience. We will now hear from the candidate for the office of Speaker of the House, Justin Bladecki, from Rosalind Franklin University.
Thank you. When I was still in the Army, I remember there was a plaque hanging on the armory wall, and it said, "The difficult we do immediately, the impossible takes a little longer." The first time I saw that, I kind of chuckled a bit to myself because that's a pretty corny line. But after I'd been in for a while, I realized it actually wasn't so corny. So I was a combat engineer, which might be the most poorly defined job in the Army. The short version is that we were versatile and adaptable. Often that meant we were asked to do things that couldn't plausibly be done, at least not at first. Turns out that half the job was figuring out a new way to approach the problem, a way that makes the impossible possible. It wasn't always easy, it was rarely pretty, but it did the job. Well, that's great for the Army, but what does that have to do with pharmacy? I'm glad you asked that, imaginary voice in my audience. The mission of APHA-ASP might be different, but the skill sets are largely the same. We have goals. We have an entire policy book filled with them, in fact. Some of them are relatively simple, but others are ambitious. Some you might call impossible. But I've seen the impossible accomplished before, and I know that it can be done. First, we need to not let the enormity of the task overwhelm us. I can work with the Policy Standing Committee to help them develop a path from where we are to where we want to be. None of our goals are truly impossible, and the first step to making them reality is acknowledging that we can do it. Second, we need to realistically assess where we currently stand. Just because a thing can be done doesn't necessarily mean that it can be done right now with what we have in the same way we've always done it. Sometimes we need a new tactic. Sometimes we need to lay more groundwork. It's okay to move slowly. It's not okay to stand still. Which brings me to the third and final point. We need to move. We need energy, enthusiasm. We need to keep making progress, and that often means not being afraid of failure. There is nothing wrong with calling up our senators and asking them to support our ambitious agenda. They might say no, sure, but they might be willing to at least have a conversation. And I personally do not believe in compromising before the negotiations have started, and I hope that you won't either. If elected Speaker of the House, I can promise that I will work with the Resolutions Committee to select bold, aggressive policy resolutions to bring before the House at the next annual meeting. I will work with the Policy Standing Committee to make the resolutions on the books a reality. We won't accomplish everything in 1 year, but we can make progress. We can leave a solid foundation for our successors. And lastly, I will work with you, the Academy of Student Pharmacists, to dream big, to envision a perfect world. I'm not intimidated by the idea of perfection, and I won't let you be either. The first step is saying, yes, this is what I want. Then we work together and find a way to make it reality. We won't see it in a year. We might not even see it in our lifetimes. But is that any reason not to try? Let's dream big. Let's seize our moment. Let's redefine impossible and make it something that can be done, even if it takes a little longer. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Bladecki. This concludes the address portion of the election.